I'm Amelia Mosley and you're watching BTN. Thanks for hanging out with us again. Let's see what's coming up on today's show. We'll bring you some big news of the week, from floods and fires in Australia to talk of tariffs in the US. We'll also give you some tips for staying safe online. All that soon, but first today we're going to hear what the country's leader has to say to primary school kids. A Year 6 class from Canberra has managed to score a press conference with the Prime Minister, and they put some pretty big questions to him. Let's check it out.
So today we're going to be going to Parliament House and we're going to be asking our Prime Minister questions.
I'm very excited but mostly nervous.
Nervous? Why is that?
Because basically the entirety of Australia is watching.
Say hello.
Hi.
Alright everybody, we got 30 minutes for the Prime Minister. What questions do you think we should ask?
Maybe we should ask, who inspired him?
Maybe what was the hardest decision he ever made for being a Prime Minister?
I came up with a few about what he's going to do for the environment and just to get to know him so kids around Australia know him a bit better.
Will I be able to afford a house in the future? That's a big one, because I don't want to be homeless.
We tried to make some questions that were serious and not funny. Well, we tried to squeeze in some funny ones.
All right, everybody, what's your favorite question? What would Donald Trump influence on Australia?
Do you think that social media has a big impact on kids?
Why do you think it's important to ask people in power questions like this?
Because they can help you to help make a difference.
All right, everybody, how are we feeling about those questions?
Really good.
How are you thinking today is going to go when we meet the PM?
I'm not a time traveller. I have no idea how it will go, but I hope that it will go very well.
I'm very excited. I've never met the Prime Minister before.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you?
10.
9.
10. 10. 10.
A 9? Hang on a minute.
I don't know.
Hey, how you going? What's your name?
Ava.
Hey Ava. G'day, I'm Anthony. What's your name?
I'm Liam.
Hi Liam. Hi, what's your name?
Deb.
Nice to meet you. Welcome to my office. There's various stuff up there, including a Rabbitohs footy. Does anyone here go for the Rabbitohs? Not one.
Brady does.
Yeah, there you go. There's always a random South guy, wherever you are in the world. Okay, fantastic. Okay, see you in a minute. Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Blue Room here in Parliament House.
Good afternoon, Mr Albanese. What inspired you to be Prime Minister?
Oh gee, I didn't come into Parliament to be the Prime Minister. I didn't think that I'd have that opportunity. I grew up in a household with just my mum. She was quite crippled up with rheumatoid arthritis, and so I got interested in how can she get a better life, how can people get better access to healthcare and opportunities. So I ran for Parliament in 1996 and got elected, and then after the election in 2019 where the Labor Party wasn't successful, I put my hand up and got elected as leader.
Did you ever run for school house captain when you were a child?
I didn't get to be a school or house captain. That's a very raw thing that you've raised. Who's the school captain here? See, so that was a loaded question. Well, congratulations to you.
Will young Australians be able to afford to buy houses in the future?
Certainly that is our objective. The key to housing policy is supply. So there's no short-term fix. And I think that's one of the reasons why governments haven't delivered. So we've got an objective of 1.2 million homes to be built.
How can young people help the environment?
How young people can help is to remind your parents and others who are older than you of what your values are and why it's important that all of us are responsible.
Hi, my name is Alex.
Hi, Alex.
And Do you have some hobbies?
I do have hobbies. I love sport. When I was your age, I used to collect stamps, and I also collected footy cards. They came with bubble gum.
Not anymore.
Now my hobby is, I guess, I like following sport, and my dog Toto, she takes up a bit of time too.
My name is Rory. How will Donald Trump affect Australia?
Well, see, I knew there'd be some difficult questions. Look, Australia, we have a good relationship with the United States, but Australia will determine our own position as well. To give one example, President Trump has decided the United States will withdraw funding and support from the UN climate change agreement on Paris. He has withdrawn funding from aid organisations, including the World Health Organization. So we'll stay in the Paris Agreement on climate change, and we'll continue to provide support for foreign aid.
How can we help support peace in the Middle East?
Oh, thanks, Ava. I think, it is devastating, isn't it, watching what is occurring in the Middle East. One of the things that we're trying to do is to be responsible, to be advocates for long-term peace, to oppose the actions of terrorists, like happened with Hamas against Israel on October 7, to call that out, condemn it. Also to work for what's the solution. So for a long time in the Middle East, people have spoken about two states, which is what was supposed to happen and didn't. So Israelis and Palestinians living side by side. But it's not easy, and no one should think it's easy. But the alternative is devastating.
My name is Ben, and what is the hardest part of being the Prime Minister?
Oh, I think the fact that there are only 24 hours in the day, Ben, but there's not a day or not a minute where I don't feel honoured and humbled to have the position that I do. And I'm very passionate about this being the best country on earth. We're done, I think. Can I thank you so much? It's good there are members of the Federal Parliamentary Press Gallery here. They're taking notes as well. But all of you are delightful. Thank you very much.
Donald Trump has held his first meeting with a world leader at the White House since becoming US president again. Do you know who that leader was? It's Benjamin Netanyahu, the president of Israel. President Trump used the meeting to make the extremely controversial announcement that he wanted the US to take control of Gaza and relocate the people living there.
Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land, developing and creating thousands of jobs.
Experts say that would be breaking international law, and it's been criticised by many leaders around the world. A series of earthquakes have rocked the island of Santorini, which is part of which country? Is it Italy, Greece or Portugal? Santorini is in Greece, and it, along with several other Greek islands, has recorded thousands of earthquakes since late January, including a magnitude 5.2 last week.
For 3 days, there have been earthquakes every few minutes.
Authorities are worried it could be leading up to a bigger quake. A state of emergency has been declared, and more than 11,000 people have been evacuated. And the Botanic Gardens in Sydney and Canberra are celebrating the rare sight of Titan arum flowers. They only bloom every 2 to 3 years, and as well as being the biggest flower in the world, they're famous for smelling like what? Is it laundry detergent, rotten eggs, or rotting meat? It's rotting meat, earning them the common name of corpse flower. Now we're heading to North Queensland, where homes, businesses and farms around Townsville have been hit by devastating floods. Meanwhile, down in Victoria, bushfires are still burning the Grampians. Ren found out what's going on and why summer in Australia can bring such different disasters.
Floods, lots of rain for the past couple of days. It's just been basically non-stop.
Our lake right near us is getting flooded.
For people like Vivian, Grace and Brianna, it's been a difficult week. They live here in Townsville in North Queensland, where a huge downpour of rain caused dams and rivers to overflow, resulting in devastating floods.
We're staying home, we're up on high ground.
You can hear it really loud, just like the rattling on the roof. And you can hear the wind as well. It's quite
2 people died, and thousands of people in the region had to quickly pack up their things and evacuate their homes. Many people made their way to evacuation centres, while others went to stay with friends, like Grace did with Viv's family.
There's like a total of 9 people here.
Yeah.
And we've filled up every room, and Grace is on my floor at the moment.
Yeah. And it probably helps as well that you're with your best friend. It makes it a little bit less scary.
Yeah.
The floods left more than 10,000 homes without power. And for lots of young people, it also meant no school.
Because the school got quite a bit of water in it, because we go to school right by the water.
It's sad because I love school and I have lots of friends teachers there that I love.
But floods weren't the only disaster threatening Aussie homes, lives and livelihoods last week. Down here in Western Victoria, hundreds of firefighters are working to contain out-of-control bushfires. One of the things they're doing is backburning, which involves burning stuff like dry grass, sticks and wood before the fire gets to it, fighting flames with flames.
It can absolutely be the difference between life and death.
Blazes here in the Grampians started in December, and since then, they've destroyed at least 4 homes and burned through around 90,000 hectares of land. While it might seem strange to see fires and floods happening at the same time, it's not actually uncommon in Australia. You see, the top of the country sits in the tropics, close to the equator, where in summer, high ocean temperatures bring a lot of rain and sometimes big storms. Up here, it's known as the wet season. Meanwhile, down south, where the ocean is cooler, summers tend to be hot and dry. And when wind or lightning is added to the mix, it makes for catastrophic fire conditions. It's why emergency services, like our firefighters and the SES, are always extra vigilant once December arrives.
In these situations, everyone just drops what they're doing and supports the community at large.
There's definitely a big community aspect to that, so people taking other people in, sandbags. Yeah.
Even like the SES workers just going around helping people to get to the evacuation centres if they don't have places to go.
Summer isn't over yet, and the people in these disaster zones are facing a long and difficult time ahead. But many, like Grace and Vivian, say it's important to stay positive and look after each other.
We're all here, we're just being together as our own little community, and we've just been sharing these times together. And talk to your friends, like talk to your family members, like it's an opportunity, I think.
Hi BTN, we're watching you from Rainbow State School.
Now to a word you might have heard in the news lately, and that's tariffs. It's something the US president promised to bring in if he was elected, and he's been making good on that promise. So what are tariffs anyway, and why are they a big deal? Here's Jack.
Where did you get that ostentatious hat from? I haven't seen any of them like that in my kingdom.
Oh, it's imported from the Northern Kingdom. They're all the rage. I've got one in blue.
Oh. Well, why aren't people buying the hats we make in our kingdom?
Well, because the ones we make just aren't ostentatious.
Oh. Just like this kingdom, the world is constantly trading goods and services with one another every day. Why? Well, some countries have better resources, or are better at making certain things, or they can do it cheaper. In fact, many nations have agreements in place to make this process easy and more open. A free trade agreement, if you will. But there are downsides to this system of global trade. Well, if people aren't buying the hats our kingdom makes, then the hat factories will close down, and that could be bad for the economy.
Oh no!
I think it's perhaps time we introduced a tariff.
What's a tariff?
A tariff is a tax or additional cost that governments impose on products coming from another country. So, for example, an exporter of ostentatious hats will get whacked with an extra cost that goes to the king. Oh, I mean the government. To make up for that, the hat seller charges more, and people end up paying more for their fancy headwear. The idea is to deliberately make foreign goods more expensive to discourage people from buying them. Tariffs aren't uncommon. In fact, nearly every country has them. But they tend to be lower in wealthy countries where free trade is encouraged. And now, the US president wants a whole heap more.
If you think about it, other countries charge us tariffs. We don't charge them tariffs. And it's about time that that changes.
One of his big election promises was to help American industries by decreasing the amount that America buys and increasing the amount that it sells. He's planning to do that with tariffs. But it's controversial. For starters, it would make some things cost more, which doesn't always go down well with the public. Plus, a lot of industries rely on importing parts from overseas. Oh, and tariffs can go both ways. A lot of people worry that if America taxes other countries, then they'll just tax America and spark something that's known as a trade war.
Terrible news, sir, that the Northern Kingdom has threatened to put a tariff on our sensible boot.
Oh no, but that would put our sensible boot factories out of business, and that would be far from sensible. So far, Donald Trump has brought in a 10 to 15% tariff on some goods from China. He also said he was going to put a 25% tariff on Mexico and Canada, two of America's closest allies. But after some negotiations, that's been put off. Trump says this is just the start of his tariff blitz, which has made some people excited, others nervous, and could impact countries all over the world, including Australia. Who would have thought all of this over a silly hat?
It's not a silly hat. It's an ostentatious hat.
You are right. Can I try it on?
We're watching BTN from Geelong Lutheran College, Armstrong Creek.
Cheering fans, star-studded ads, and a halftime extravaganza. It can only mean one thing: the Super Bowl. The NFL's annual final is one of the most watched sporting events in the world. And this year, fans tuned in to see the Philadelphia Eagles snatch their second win from the Kansas City Chiefs, 40-22. The win saw Sydney-born Jordan Mailata become the first Aussie to play in a winning Super Bowl team. Aussie teenager Cam Myers has broken the world record for the fastest mile in the under-20 category. He came third in the race with a time of 3 minutes and 47.18 seconds, which was enough to score the record. And finally, to the end of a 14-year drought.
He pulls hard, gets plenty of it.
The Aussies have taken home a 9-wicket win in their second test match against Sri Lanka, their first since 2011. Steve Smith and Alex Carey both scored centuries, with Alex Carey being named player of the match with 156 runs.
Did you know that Tuesday, February 11th is Safer Internet Day? It was created as a reminder to all of us about the potential dangers that we face online. So Ren's decided to take you on a bit of a ride through the scary side of the net and give you tips on how to stay safe.
Oh, a haunted elevator.
Welcome to the Tower of Online Terrors.
Niche. I love it.
Come on in and explore the dark side of the internet.
Yeah, we all spend a lot of our lives online. But as well as the good stuff, and the useless but harmless stuff, the internet can take you on a scary and sometimes pretty dangerous ride.
What is it? You suck. All your political ideas are wrong and I hate your hair. Yes, so you've met the troll.
Trolling has been around for pretty much as long as the internet, and basically, it means deliberately trying to make people angry or upset.
Why would they do that?
For attention, mostly. They feed on your anger. But there are worse creatures lurking online.
It's awful!
You've just met online hate.
Experts say online hate is a growing problem right around the world. It's content that targets people based on characteristics like race, religion, ethnicity, sexual orientation, disability, or gender. And it can cause serious real-world consequences.
Why is it so horrible?
Well, there's a few reasons. For starters, when people are online, they can hide who they really are, and they don't have to see the people they're hurting, so they're way more likely to behave in ways they wouldn't in real life. Plus, many online platforms prioritise posts that get a lot of attention, good or bad.
And then we have the echo chamber.
Hello? This is creepy.
Yep, echo chambers are everywhere on social media, and they're very easy to fall into. Basically, because of the way algorithms work, we tend to be fed content that's similar to other content we've already watched and liked. And over time, our worldviews can get narrower and more extreme.
Hi, Alad.
Hi, Zara.
Oh! It's us! Yes, it's your digital footprint.
We know everything about you.
Yeah, look, every time we're online, we leave a trail of data, and if it gets into the wrong hands, it can be really dangerous.
Give me all your money! We don't have any!
Cybercrime is a huge problem that's costing people and governments right around the world billions of dollars.
Okay, I think we've seen enough.
Is there anything we can do to, not have to deal with this stuff?
Plenty.
Yes, there are things you can do to keep yourself safe online. And the first step is to be aware of the dangers. If you're bullied or harassed online, you should always tell someone. Take screenshots, report it to the site where it is happening, and block or mute the person doing it. Australia has laws against bullying and hate speech, and breaking them can be really serious. The E-Safety Commissioner's website also has a place where you can report abuse. And when it comes to choosing the stuff you look at online, be skeptical. Ask yourself where it's coming from, who created it, whether it's likely to be true, and whether it could be harmful. As for your personal details, be very careful about where you share them. Never give away your info to strangers or click suspicious links. Make sure you choose strong passwords. And remember, what you post online can stay there forever.
Or you could just leave.
Wait, we can just get off whenever we want?
Yeah, get out of here. Go touch some grass. Bye.
Well, that's it for BTN this week, and it's also time for me to say goodbye for a while because I'm heading off on leave to have this baby. But don't worry, the wonderful Jack Evans will be filling in for me for the rest of 2025. I'm going to miss you all so much. Have the best year, and I'll see you really, really soon. Bye.